Shocking text from my son. I don't want you on my trip, after I paid for his amazing new home. Tom stared at his phone in disbelief, heart gripped by a twisting pain. I don't want you on my trip showed glaringly on the screen, words that felt like ice on a sunny day. He had sacrificed so much for Jake, worked himself to the bone to afford the new home, built not just with materials, but with dreams for his son's future. But now everything felt hollow, like the garage he spent late nights in, full of memories but desperately needing maintenance. How could the boy he had raised, who had once clung to him during hard times, push him away like this? A wave of confusion and hurt rushed through him. Shouldn't they share these moments together? Instead, Jake was off gallivanting with his friends, leaving behind the values Tom had meticulously crafted, values of loyalty, family, and gratitude. Memories flooded back. Weekends spent at Little League games, their laughter echoing as they painted the living room together. How had it come to this? Tom felt the walls of the workshop closing in, darkness creeping into the corners of his mind as thoughts spiraled. He reached for the wrench on the workbench, clutching it tightly as if it could ground him. The grease-stained hands that had once fixed his son's bike now trembled with uncertainty. Jake had always looked up to him, hadn't he? Taught him the importance of perseverance and sacrifice. Yet, it appeared these teachings had faded in the glow of a life he no longer recognized. Jake was a young man now, filled with ambition. But in that ambition, was he losing sight of what family meant? The sun filtered through the grimy windows of the garage, illuminating a half-finished engine. Tom felt a sense of urgency rising as he thought about confronting Jake. Memories of shared moments danced before him, coupled with a cold realization that they were slipping further away. What did his son truly want? Did he desire freedom, or was he abandoning everything they once held dear? Every tick of the clock echoed a nameless fear deep within him. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the day approached, Tom felt a mix of dread and determination swirling within him, overshadowing every moment. Confrontation meant fighting against the dissonance of what he once believed their bond to be, while also accepting the realization that Jake was mapping out his own path. On the day of Jake's departure, he stood outside their house, breath catching in his throat, as he witnessed his son laughing with friends, shimmering in youthful excitement. Should he interrupt this happiness? He hesitated, muscles taut with conflict, wondering if this moment would solidify their fracture or allow them both to breathe easier. Without thinking, Tom stepped forward, hoping to bridge the widening chasm. Jake straightened, surprise flashing across his face, laughter stilled as the weight of unsaid words saturated the air between them. This was a confrontation they needed, yet as Tom's heart raced and the world around him faded, the gravity of their unspoken tensions hung heavy. Would this encounter solidify a deeper understanding, or would pride shatter everything they held? An electric charge filled the silence, leaving Tom desperate for clarity in a moment rife with uncertainty. Tom took a deep breath, the warm air filled with freshly cut grass mixing with the sharp tang of gasoline from his tools. This was it. He felt the weight of 1,000 unshared conversations and unshed tears pressing upon him as he moved closer to Jake. Every step felt like crossing a threshold into uncharted territory, a space rife with emotions he had long buried beneath layers of fatherly pride and self-protection. "Hey, Jake," Tom initiated, voice wavering ever so slightly. But what he didn't expect was the rush of vulnerability that accompanied the simple words. It was as if he had stepped onto a stage without knowing his lines. Jake's expression shifted from surprise to confusion. The laughter of his friends faded into the background, as Tom found himself searching his son's eyes, looking for remnants of the young boy full of wonder and shared dreams. "Dad, I didn't think you'd actually show up," Jake stammered, pushing his hands into his pockets, a defensive posture emerging between them. Tom's chest tightened. What had he anticipated? A warm embrace, perhaps, or at least a recognition of all the sacrifices he'd made. "I wanted to talk before you leave." The unspoken weight of that moment hung in the air like a thick fog, wrapping around their shared history, yet it felt oddly isolating. He needed to offer more than just words. He needed to dig deep and express his confusion, fears, and hopes. "Why don't you want me on this trip? I just want to understand." Jake's face darkened, shadows crossing his brow. "Dad, it's not that I don't want you. It's different now. You don't get how this all feels. My friends are my support right now, and it's just easier this way." Easier? The simple word echoed painfully within Tom's mind. Was this what years of guidance had led to? A swift dismissal? A refusal to acknowledge the people who had been there through thick and thin? "You know, I'm just trying to be a part of your life, to share these moments with you." "This isn't about you, Dad," Jake shot back, his voice rising and drawing unwanted attention. "I need to find out who I am without you around all the time. You built such high expectations." Tom's heart lurched, the blade of Jake's words cutting deeper than he liked to admit. Expectations? Had he truly pushed his son away under the guise of love? He took a step back, a moment of reflection slipping into a crack of vulnerability. What was Jake really saying? Maybe... Tom hesitated, introspection washing over him. The losses felt brutal, yet perhaps this confrontation could morph into something more, an opportunity to redefine their relationship. Maybe you're right. Maybe I have pushed too hard. Jake's expression softened momentarily, showing a flicker of surprise. It was fresh ground they were treading, and Tom felt the urge to seize the moment rather than let it slip away. But understand, I want you to grow too. I want you to feel free, but also remember that family will always matter. I get that, Jake interjected, frustration evident on his face. But can't you see? I need to figure things out on my own. I can't have your shadow looming over me. The silence that followed was deafening. Tom realized it was not just their words that separated them, but the silence filled with years of yearning, lessons, and disappointments. Did he have the courage to admit his own failings as a father while still allowing Jake to forge his path? Would this confrontation force both of them to evolve? I don't want to be your shadow, Tom found himself admitting. But I want to be by your side wherever that is. You aren't alone in this, even if you can't see it. Suddenly, a revelation struck Tom. He had spent so much energy clinging to control and providing direction, he had never truly listened to what his son needed. A flurry of ideas swirled in his mind, plans for how to rebuild their bond restored within the cemented walls they had erected. Can we try again? Together? The question hung in the air, trembling with uncertainty. But this time it felt different. A bridge began to take shape, and amid the trepidation, hope flickered. Yet just before Jake could respond, a loud honk interrupted them, signaling the arrival of the car that would take him to the trip. The moment shattered, Tom's heart sinking at the reality of interruption. Dad, we can talk about this later, Jake said, retreating from the growing conversation. As Jake turned to leave, Tom clenched his fists at his sides, the desire to press deeper surging within. Would this chance for understanding disappear before it had a chance to blossom? The possibility of a new beginning hung before him like a dangling thread. But would Jake grasp it? Would they both be willing to tear down years of miscommunication and misunderstanding? The car's engine roared to life, and as Jake climbed inside, Tom felt the world shift beneath his feet. The silence stretched again, heavy with unfinished business and unsaid words as the vehicle pulled away. This whirlwind of emotions filled him with a resolve he hadn't anticipated. He needed to rethink how he approached not just Jake, but his entire perception of fatherhood. What other truths were waiting to be uncovered? Would he find the strength to embrace change? And what implications would that hold for both his and Jake's futures? The answers lay just beyond reach, igniting an urgent fire within him. The moment of truth seemed closer than ever. The car's taillights disappeared into the distance, leaving Tom standing alone in the growing twilight. The grass beneath his feet felt like a grounding reality, amid the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Rejection, fear, and an unfamiliar resolve danced together, creating a nagging tension in his chest. He took a step back, allowing the surrounding stillness to seep in, but it did little to calm the storm within. Tom's mind raced as he replayed the confrontation, searching for clues that would lead him to a better understanding of his son. What had he failed to see over the years? The answers lay buried beneath layers of expectation, a protective facade he had constructed with the best intentions. Yet here he stood, realizing that well-intentioned love can stifle rather than nurture. He gazed at the empty road where Jake's car had vanished. A flicker of frustration surged within him, mingling with the remnants of helplessness. Had he unwittingly suffocated Jake's spirit under the weight of his aspirations? The revelation gnawed at him, forcing him to confront the uncomfortable truth. His desire to guide and shape his son's future may have robbed Jake of the chance to explore his own path. As night fell, the stars emerged, seemingly indifferent to his plight. Tom resolved to learn more about this evolving relationship dynamic between them. Could he shift from his ingrained role as a controlling force to a supportive companion in Jake's journey? The transformation felt daunting, yet exhilarating. For the first time, Tom thought perhaps vulnerability wasn't a weakness, but rather a pathway to discovery. He turned back towards his workspace shed. The tools lined up like soldiers awaiting orders. They had been his refuge, a place of solace where he had spent countless hours honing his craft. Yet today they seemed to mock him, standing as a reminder of his stifling presence in Jake's life. Tom pondered the possibility of redefining his role. His mind began to wander through memories of the father-son activities they once enjoyed together. Fishing trips, late-night movie marathons, and spontaneous adventures across their home state. When had those moments faded? When had he stopped actively engaging with the person Jake was becoming? This thought lingered, growing roots in his mind. The notion of learning alongside Jake, rather than teaching from a pedestal, transformed his perspective. But it also raised questions about his identity as a father. If he let go of control, what was left of his role? He swallowed hard, realizing the unknown was equally frightening and liberating. The urge to reach out to Jake again surged within him, but a gnawing doubt followed. Would he come off as desperate, or would his willingness to change encourage Jake to open up? It was a precarious balance to strike, yet the urgency for dialogue loomed like an approaching storm. The opportunity for genuine connection closer than ever, but so easily lost. And then, in a moment of clarity, Tom knew he had to act. He couldn't wait for Jake to circle back. This was his responsibility to initiate a new conversation. He grabbed his phone, fingers hesitating for only a moment before typing a message. "Can we talk tomorrow?" It felt simple, yet significant, a first step towards bridging the gap. But just as he sent the message, his phone buzzed. Tom's heart quickened as he glanced at the screen. Jake's name lit up. Could it truly be an answer? Did this mean the door had merely closed for a moment, only to reopen again? Tom's breath caught in his throat, contemplating what his son might say next. Would there be anger again, or perhaps a glimmer of understanding? Would he finally glimpse the version of Jake that had been hidden behind walls of frustration? With uncertainty coursing through him, Tom clenched the phone, hoping for a response that could propel them both towards a meaningful change. The truths he needed to confront about himself were not just academic. They were inescapably linked to his relationship with Jake. Moments stretched into an eternity, anticipation thickening the air. The dawning realization was their destinies were intertwined. What would they discover in the conversation ahead? The end of one chapter loomed, while the beginning of another flickered just out of focus. Would they both find what they were searching for? As Tom stared at the glowing screen, the world around him fell silent. The words he read struck him like a bolt of lightning, both electrifying and paralyzing. Jake's text wasn't merely a response. It was a declaration of independence laced with disdain. "I don't want you on my trip." He could almost hear the unspoken declaration echoing in his mind, a clarion call that underscored his fading role in his son's life. What trip? Tom had assumed this was an opportunity, a chance to bridge the divide, to repair the seams of their fractured relationship. But instead, he was faced with Jake's explicit rejection, a symptom of the burgeoning chasm between them. The pile of unspoken words and unmet expectations loomed large, forestalling any semblance of clarity. Tom inhaled deeply, clenching his jaw as he weighed the implications. Was this the culmination of years spent pushing Jake toward certain expectations? Each choice had seemingly built a wall between them, thinner at points, yet formidable enough that now, standing in the rubble, he could feel heartbreak while battling anger and confusion. He felt the onset of breathlessness and scoured the swell of emotions for something to ground him: disappointment, shame, and an urgent need to understand. Perhaps this was the wake-up call he'd been so desperately reaching for. Had he really misunderstood his son's desires to such catastrophic degrees? Managing his anger, Tom wrestled with the instinct to respond immediately. His fingers hovered over the screen again, craving a reply. But this was not a conversation that could be bridged with hasty words. A quick answer would do more harm than good. The urgency he felt was now layered with caution. It wasn't just about Jake's request for space. It was a plea for recognition of his own life. Tom was a father, but Jake was a person in his own right, carving out his identity separate from the expectations Tom had placed upon him. Intent on redefining his interaction, Tom took a deep breath, forcing himself to reflect. All those father-son activities he longed for with Jake had been shaped by his own persona, rather than a genuine acknowledgement of Jake's interests. Fishing wasn't Jake's passion, it was Tom's. The movies they watched, the adventures they shared, these moments had been suffused with his hopes, his yearnings for a son who conformed to his vision. In that instant, Tom recognized the need for genuine inquiry. Would it not serve him better to understand what that trip meant to Jake? What did he want to experience? Tom's internal landscape shifted, transforming pent-up frustration into the realization that if he wanted to reconnect, he had to begin by letting go. Before he could talk himself out of it, Tom typed a new message. "Can you tell me why you don't want me there?" It felt painfully honest yet hopeful, an opening rather than a demand. He had a sudden sense that each moment of hesitation could become an opportunity for growth, not just for Jake, but for himself. With an unexpected sense of calm washing over him, Tom placed the phone down, recognizing his afternoon had slipped away as night began to settle. He walked to the window, the nearby trees swaying in the gentle breeze, reminding him of the unknown path he now had to tread, a path of patience and understanding. What would Jake say next? Would he be willing to share the truth that lay beneath his rejection? The uncertainty he once begrudged was now the heartbeat of a new beginning, and Tom accepted the bittersweet nature of this transition. As thoughts of Jake's unfiltered response loomed large in his mind, Tom sensed the heavy weight of questions gathering momentum. In the wake of this moment, his role as a father was shifting. But what did that mean for his relationship with Jake moving forward? Could he navigate this new territory without the compass of authority he had wielded for so long? Just as he began to soak in the magnitude of this internal change, his phone buzzed once more, a new message flashing on the screen. Tom felt a surge of anxiety mixed with exhilaration. This was more than a reply. Perhaps it was the inflection point that would define their relationship going forward. What revelation lurked in that message? Would it urge both father and son toward clarity, or would it further entrench them in misunderstanding? The curtain was rising on a conversation that could rewrite their narrative. It felt monumental, and perhaps all-consuming. Tom's heart raced as he reached for his phone, the screen glimmering with potential. He hesitated, unsure if he was prepared for whatever revelation Jake had poured into those words. As he unlocked the device, he felt the weight of his own expectations threatening to drown him in uncertainty. Could a single message unravel years of tension? He settled back onto the couch, the room dim, shadows playing across the walls like fragments of his thoughts. Jake's message read simply, "I want to do this trip with my friends. It's the first time I'm really trying to be my own person, Dad. I need space from you." The words cut deep, their sharp edges digging into his chest. Space. The word reverberated through Tom's mind like a drumbeat of impending change. He had wanted so desperately to be there for Jake, to support him in this formative part of his life. Yet here it was. Jake's definition of support clashed violently with Tom's. With every letter, he felt the primal urge to protect his son rising within him. But what Jake needed now was autonomy. As he read the message repeatedly, Tom's emotions shifted. It was raw and honest, yet reflected a fear he hadn't anticipated. His son was asserting himself and pushing away from the safety net that Tom had woven with years of careful planning. Was it possible that Jake was right? Had he built that net too tightly? Tom wrestled with the impulse to respond emphatically, an urge to remind Jake of all he had given, from the trips they took to the sacrifices he made for him. But this wasn't about compensation. This was about understanding. Responding with a silent heart wouldn't bridge the canyon that now yawned between them, flexing the fingers that could so easily type a defensive retort. Tom closed his eyes for a moment. He envisioned Jake, surrounded by friends, making memories without him. Wasn't that what he wanted? A new generation forging their paths, learning to adult away from the shadows of their parents' expectations. He needed clarity on what this moment was teaching him, yet all he felt was a muddle. In that chaos, something within Tom began to settle. Perhaps his role wasn't just about providing opportunities, but also about recognizing Jake's need to claim his own identity. He might have misconstrued love as constant proximity. Truthfully, it should have been rooted in trust. With newfound determination, he typed back, "I understand. I'm proud of you for wanting to explore. Just know that I'm here if you need me." The purposeful choice of words felt liberating. Instead of demanding closeness, he was giving Jake the space to breathe, and it felt right. Tom sat back, a strange calm enfolding him. This was the road to growth. Not just for Jake, but for himself, too. Respecting Jake's decisions required him to confront his own fears of insignificance. The faint echoes of doubt lingered, calling him to question whether he'd done enough as a father. But he was learning that self-worth wasn't tied to authority, and it was time to celebrate Jake's independence, not mourn it. Getting up from the couch, Tom sensed that the afternoon would become pivotal. He needed to recalibrate his connections, not just with Jake, but with life itself. He strolled to the kitchen, pouring himself a glass of water, and as he drank, he felt a swell of pride mixed with a touch of sadness. Was he ready to embrace the evolution of their relationship? Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. Another message from Jake flashed on the screen. It felt like an electric shock. He found himself torn between eager anticipation and the dread of what lay ahead. Would this second missive further illuminate their path, or would it plunge them into deeper misunderstandings? He stood there, gripping the phone, the air thick with an anticipation that crackled with uncertainty. Would he be resilient enough to navigate the next revelation? It was time to face whatever came next. The moment of truth was unfolding before him. The second buzz from his phone broke the silence like a hammer on glass. Tom's heart thudded in his chest as the screen lit up, revealing Jake's name. He hesitated, fingers hovering over the device, riddled with an anxious mix of excitement and trepidation. What more could a single message contain that would shift the tectonic plates of their relationship? Finally, he summoned the nerve to unlock the phone. The message was longer this time, and he could sense the weight of it before even reading the words. "Dad, I get that you want to support me, but this isn't just about the trip. I feel like everything has been planned out for me my whole life. You put me in a new school, signed me up for classes I didn't want, and even picked out my college. I want to be my own person, not just the kid you wanted me to be. I don't want you to visit during this trip." In that moment, the room felt smaller, air rushing out as the gravity of Jake's words collided with Tom's perception of himself as a father. A blinding storm of vulnerability swelled within him. Did he truly orchestrate Jake's entire life according to his own vision, bulldozing over Jake's individuality in the process? It frightened him to consider the possibility. Tom paced the kitchen, the cool tiles grounding him as he processed the ramifications of Jake's message. His desire to protect his son felt tangled into a web of control, unintentional, yet potent. Did being a provider morph so easily into being a puppet master? He leaned against the counter, seeking solace in the stillness of the moment. Doubts clawed at him. Fleeting images of all the decisions he'd made surged forward. The portable desk set up in their last house for Jake's new school, the courses he arranged with increasing rigor, all driven by his own ambitions. Was that really nurturing? Or was it a veil, hiding the deeper fears of inadequacy he harbored as a parent? With every step he took in the kitchen, Tom balanced the knowledge that he loved Jake fiercely, and the stark reality that love, if not aligned with respect, could suffocate. Gritting his teeth, he understood that letting go was not just about physical distance for Jake. It was about emotional liberation, allowing his son to craft his identity away from the weight of expectations. As he weighed his options, Tom pulled out his laptop to work through his thoughts. The screen flickered to life, illuminating his determination for introspection. For years, he'd navigated life based on a script he'd crafted. It was clean, neat, an illusion of control. But Jake's need for space was a powerful challenge to that script, a call to bravely step into the unknown. With a breath steadying his resolve, he began to type a response. Not as a father responding to a son, but as a man willing to embrace the complexities of their evolving relationship. "I hear you, Jake. I'm sorry if I've pushed you into choices that felt forced. I want you to know I love you and support your quest for independence. I'll step back. This is your journey." Each keystroke tightened the knot of anxiety in his stomach, but also offered an invigorating clarity. After sending the message, he felt unshackled, like a sailor finally trimming the sails as the wind shifted direction. Tension unfurled into an openness he hadn't anticipated. This path would require continuous reevaluation, not just from Jake, but from himself as well. He fought the urge to monitor Jake's decisions in a parental reflex. Each choice his son made would be a testament to his individual growth. As he leaned against the wall, Tom's phone pinged once more. Jake had replied almost immediately. A rush of apprehension surged through him. Was this a continuation of the dialogue he'd hoped for? Or was it a resignation that would fracture their relationship even further? The moment hung in the balance, rife with possibility. This next message could either deepen their connection or cast a shadow over it entirely. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to engage head-on. The time had come to see just how resolute he could be in the face of an uncertain future. The soft buzz of the phone was soon overwhelmed by the thumping in Tom's chest as he unlocked it again to find Jake's new message awaiting him. "Dad, I appreciate your response, but I still need this space. Please understand, it's not easy for me. I want to find out who I am without the weight of your expectations. I need this trip to figure things out." It struck Tom deeply. Jake was earnest. He was scared. The simple text transformed into a labyrinth of parental regret and redemption. Tom had never considered how far he had pushed Jake to conform to a life not chosen by his son. He pictured Jake standing on the precipice of adulthood, poised between their shared history and a future teeming with choices that were distinctly his own. Tom felt exposed, the reality reflecting in the stark light of his kitchen, a clash of aspirations and identities. In his mind, a cacophony of questions emerged. What had driven him to control so much of Jake's life? Was it truly love, or a misguided attempt to mold his child? The maps Tom had drawn for his son were intricate and precise. New schools, vassal lessons, college plans, they were sketched with care and intention, yet they suffocated instead of facilitated. Each decision echoed his own childhood fears, a restless pursuit of approval disguised as parental guidance. The flicker of realization stung. He could be creating the exact alienation from which he hoped to protect Jake. Tom moved through the kitchen like a pendulum, oscillating between self-reflection and profound concern. He had viewed his role as a steadfast ship captain, steering Jake's journey toward a predetermined destination. How naive to overlook the tempest humanity often ignites within those tethered to expectation. He paused before the kitchen window, watching the dusk settle over the neighborhood. Each light flickered on in harmony, yet within these touching moments lay an unbearable heaviness. Families grappling with the weight of who they wish their loved ones to be. In that instant, he made a decision. It was time to unveil his own vulnerabilities to Jake, before the walls he built around him suffocated any bond left between father and son. Tom took a deep breath, planted his hands firmly on the counter, and began drafting a second response. This time, he needed to speak from a place of authenticity rather than paternal authority. He wanted Jake not only to know of his support, but to understand his motives, the fears that had shaped his decisions over the years. Jake, he typed slowly, each word a step closer toward vulnerability. I realize I've been projecting my fears and dreams onto you. I'm scared of losing you and terrified that you might fail. The truth is, I don't want to lose the relationship we have. The words felt heavy but liberating, proof of a desire to break free from the shackles of expectation. He tapped send, inhaling deeply, feeling the cascading tension recede just a fraction. Would Jake receive this new openness with understanding, or would it serve only as another reminder of perceived failures? Moments passed, fraught with suspense. Then came his phone's ping again, an agonizing echo amidst his racing thoughts. Tom's pulse quickened, anticipation driving him to place renewed weight on this conversation. He was teetering on the edge of revelation. Jake's response had the potential to transform everything. But when he finally read Jake's reply, he felt the chill of uncertainty creeping in again. He hesitated, heart clenching. The message offered promise, yet hinted at paths he wasn't prepared to navigate. As Tom braced himself for what lay ahead, it dawned on him. The dimensions of their relationship were shifting into uncharted waters, and he would have to adapt or risk losing everything. What Tom did not realize was that this exchange would awaken something profound within him, a latent desire to rediscover not just Jake, but also himself. The journey was far from over. If anything, it had only begun. The weight of Jake's reply loomed heavy over Tom, whose mind raced with confusion and an emotional tempest. I'm grateful for your honesty, Dad. Please allow me this time. I have to go, was what Jake had sent back. But there was another part echoing louder in Tom's mind, the implication that Jake wanted to navigate his own life away from him entirely. The revelation clawed at him, a harsh reminder of how their connection was shifting, unraveling slightly at the seams. Yet as much as he wanted to dive into despair and frustration, Tom knew he was standing at a critical juncture not just for Jake, but for himself as well. This moment demanded action, a conscious decision to embrace either stagnation or growth, and he felt the latter tugging at his heartstrings. It struck him suddenly. He was losing Jake, but perhaps this could be the turning point in their relationship, a chance for Tom to redefine his role not as an architect of Jake's life, but as a supporter in his son's journey toward self-discovery. Determined to act rather than react, Tom sought clarity. He grabbed a notebook, a relic from his college days, and settled at the worn dining table. The blank pages felt intimidating, but also inviting. This would be a canvas for his thoughts, a guide for the unraveling emotional confusion. He needed to sift through his feelings and identify the truths buried beneath layers of parental expectation. "Where did I go wrong?" he penned, the words resonating with guilt. "What shapes a father-son relationship?" As each line pooled ink on the page, he wrestled with the threads of connection and constraint. An idea took root. Perhaps the answer lay not solely in straining against their distance, but in fostering an identity that embraced both Jake and himself as dynamic individuals. As Tom wrote, memories flooded in, shared laughter over pancake breakfasts, late-night talks about dreams, and the intensity of milestones like Jake's first day of school and his first home run. All these instances formed a mosaic of moments rich with affection, but layered with expectations. Thinking back, Tom recognized that while those experiences forged their bond, they also existed within the confines of what he saw as right. He had mistakenly woven conditional love into their experiences, where approval transitioned from unconditional to contingent on performance. Fingers dancing furiously across the paper, Tom sketched an outline of the father he aspired to be, a mentor and confidant rather than a distant authoritarian figure. What if I let Jake know I believe in him, regardless of his choices? One thought catalyzed another, and he jotted down specific ways to demonstrate this evolved support. Attend his basketball games without a judgmental gaze. Engage in shared interests without steering the conversation back to his own dreams. And most importantly, give Jake room to own his decisions, even the missteps. Realizing that self-reflection was a form of empowerment, Tom paused and considered the blank spaces left on the page that mirrored decisions yet to be made. He was on the verge of not only reinventing his role with Jake, but also redefining himself. The realization dawned that embracing Jake's independence could ultimately enrich their connection. With renewed resolve bubbling in his chest, Tom folded the notebook shut, the act signifying a commitment to embrace the next chapter of their relationship, one anchored in trust rather than control. He marveled at the thought that perhaps he wasn't just a spectator, helplessly watching his son's journey slip away. He could be an integral part, cheering from a distance, while allowing Jake the freedom to choose his own path. But just as hope surged within him, a sharp pang of anxiety interjected his thoughts. What if it was all too late? Would Jake accept this shift, or would this newfound understanding push them further apart? The uncertainty tightened around him like a vice, leaving Tom unsettled, yet motivated. Tom's phone vibrated again, the unmistakable harbinger of another text, another possibility. But with his resolve placed firmly in the groundwork of their relationship, he opened the message, heart racing. This could either be a moment of clarity or an unforeseen complication that could challenge everything he had just resolved. Ready or not, the time had come for Tom to face the next wave of challenges head-on, one that could redefine the very essence of fatherhood itself. The moment Tom opened the new text, dread washed over him like a sudden cold wave. The message was stark and unmistakable. Dad, I don't want you on my trip. I need this time for myself. Each word felt like a punch, unrelenting and unforgiving. The storm of emotions surged back, rage swirling with disbelief, confusion spiraling with sadness. He stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the keyboard, ready to unleash a torrent of responses. But the previous commitment to reflect and grow pressed firmly on his conscious mind. Instinctively, he set the phone aside and took a breath, trying to dissipate the whirlwind of thoughts before they spiraled into self-defensive vitriol. Did Jake not see the sacrifices made, the love poured into his upbringing? Anger clawed within him, but beneath it lay the seeds of understanding. This wasn't merely Jake's rejection. It was a declaration of independence, a distinct demarcation between their lives. Tom retrieved his notebook, ready to wrestle with this new chapter of their relationship. As he scribbled notes, each stroke of the pen became a catharsis. What am I feeling? It was foundational to understanding where he stood. His thoughts cascaded onto the paper, flavored with disappointment, enabling him to dissect the impact of Jake's choice. Control or support, he wrote, wrestling with the duality in his parenting approach. The realization settled in that this was more than a rejection. It was a challenge for Tom to reevaluate his role once more. He couldn't impose his desires on Jake without compromising the very support he longed to offer. A single thread of realization illuminated the path ahead. By continually positioning himself as an overseer, he had unknowingly stifled Jake's autonomy. As Tom replayed memories, he realized that Jake's refusal reflected years of suppressed voice. The missed opportunities for Jake to express true feelings, the instances of stifling triumph overshadowed by expectations. What if all this time he had sown a fear of disapproval rather than encouragement? How much of this was Tom's own need to relive his unfulfilled dreams through Jake? His thoughts intensified around the upcoming trip. It wasn't about the vacation at hand. It was about trust and empowerment. He could either view it as a loss of connection or as a chance to reinforce faith in his son's capability. What if accepting Jake's decision granted him more than proximity? What if it allowed for a deeper emotional connection that came from respect and understanding? Tom put down the pen, his mind whirring with possibilities. Envisioning a future where he could champion Jake's choices rather than dictate them kindled a renewed sense of purpose within him. The tension in his muscles loosened as he recognized that stepping back didn't mean stepping away. He could continue being a proactive but gentle guide. The next steps were unclear, but the urgency to act constructively drew on him like a magnetic pull. His heart raced as he envisioned his response to Jake's message. Moments of vulnerability intertwined with nascent assertiveness. He felt the need to articulate not only his feelings, but also his commitment to evolving their dynamic. With shaky hands, he reached for his phone, the weight of what he typed clinging to him like a protective shell. It was time to craft a message that conveyed understanding without sacrificing his presence. What would resonate with Jake? How could he frame his reply in a way that would enable growth for both of them, without losing the bond that meant the world to him? The layers of uncertainty wrapped around his heart as he finished the message, a mixture of hope and trepidation quaking through him. He could feel it. The tension was building to a point of no return, a defining moment that was bound to change everything. He pressed send and watched as the dots appeared, indicating Jake was typing. What awaited him on the other side of that screen? Would his words open a dialogue or push them both further apart? As the message continued to populate the screen, Tom sensed more than the echoes of his previous mistakes. The essence of potential unfolded before him, one that beckoned to redefine fatherhood as a journey of partnership and mutual respect. The air felt electric, charged with the possibility of a breakthrough or a breakdown. Ready or not, the moment of truth was upon him. Tom's breath caught in his throat as he watched the response bubble on the screen. Each second felt like an eternity, the weight of anticipation pressing down on him heavily. Then, the message appeared. Okay, Dad. If you really want to talk, let's talk. A rush of relief mixed with apprehension flooded Tom. This was the opening he had hoped for, a chance to unearth the layers that had built walls between them. He felt the transformative potential in that brief exchange, and clung to it as he hastily replied, I'd like that. Can we meet at the coffee shop tomorrow? As soon as he hit send, Tom felt a new pulse of readiness. This was his chance to foster a relationship rooted in mutual respect rather than authority. He envisioned the conversation, ardent with the hope that Jake would open up, revealing the deeper motivations behind his earlier rejection. The next morning loomed large. Tom chose his clothes with care, wanting to exude openness, confidence, and support. He grabbed his car keys, and as he drove to the coffee shop, the familiar streets buzzed with possibility, vibrating with energy, as if the universe conspired to aid their reunion. When he entered the coffee shop, Tom spotted Jake sitting at a corner table, tapping away on his phone, and a wave of nostalgia washed over him. Here was his son, the boy who had once giggled while baking cookies and swam in summer waves, transformed into a young man carving out his identity. The sight brought a swell of pride. "Hey, Jake," Tom greeted, his voice steady but warm, as he slid into the seat opposite him. "Dad?" Jake replied, his expression inscrutable as he set the phone aside and stared into his coffee cup. A moment of silence sat heavily between them, loaded with unspoken words. Determined to break the ice, Tom initiated gentle eye contact, inviting dialogue rather than demanding it. "I know I haven't always understood your needs. I want to hear what's on your mind. What this trip means to you." Jake shifted in his seat, piercing blue eyes finally meeting his father's gaze. "It's not just the trip. It represents choosing my own path, Dad." Tom felt a twinge of vulnerability. Jake's words were indelibly poignant, an acknowledgement of the distance they had navigated. "I've been reflecting on my role," Tom admitted, "and I see that I projected my fears and ambitions onto you, instead of empowering you to fly. I'm ready for that to change. I want you to chase your dreams." Jake studied Tom, measurements of emotions flitting across his features. "It's just hard. I love you, but I've felt this pressure my entire life to be perfect. The perfect student, the perfect son. Can't you see how much that's weighed me down?" Tom's heart sank with empathy. He sat up straighter, trying to embody the very trust he so desperately wished to achieve. "I understand that now, but I genuinely overlooked your individuality. I want to adapt. I want to be here for you, as you are forging this journey." That glimmer of vulnerability appeared within Jake, revealing cracks in the walls that had formed. "I don't want to disappoint you," he confessed quietly, a fiery flicker of determination shining through the shadows of uncertainty. There it was, an invitation to establish a new foundation of mutual understanding. "You could never disappoint me, Jake," Tom said gently. "You learning to create your own story is what's important." As they spoke, the conversation effortlessly flowed, imbibing both father and son with newfound clarity. Each commitment to communicate more openly about their needs was a stepping stone toward reconciliation. By the end of their meeting, Tom noticed a satisfying sense of recognition settling warmly in the space between them. "So, if the trip is your first step towards this independence, know that I'll always have your back," he concluded, feeling a deep confidence in their burgeoning relationship. He could see Jake smiling, the corner of his mouth twitching upward in a reflection of shared understanding. "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot." They left the coffee shop together, energized by their renewed connection. With each footstep, Tom felt more empowered, embracing the art of being a father who could step back while still being present. The bond that had once seemed irreparably frayed now pulsed with a revitalized vigor, a space where growth could flourish. In those quiet moments of reflection, both Tom and Jake emerged transformed, ready to embrace the unpredictable journey laid out before them with resilient hearts. As he drove away from the coffee shop, Tom couldn't help but feel a profound sense of accomplishment. He had not only paved the way for Jake's independence, but also embraced his own evolution as a father. This experience was the beginning of something beautiful, crafted not from control but from trust, respect, and open communication. Tom's heart soared with the realization that he could champion his son's journey without overshadowing his autonomy. This was truly a victory for them both, and with that realization, he claimed a deep, deserved fulfillment, knowing that they would navigate their intertwined paths into the future, each step bringing them closer to the vibrant relationship they had envisioned rebuilding together. Now, as the story reaches its exhilarating conclusion, it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now, to not miss out on more exclusive emotional stories that inspire transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's spread the journey of personal growth together. Your voice matters in this community, so comment below your thoughts and reactions about Jake and Tom's remarkable journey.